So this Sunday is called Palm Sunday. This is the Sunday that Jesus and his disciples were walking into Jerusalem. On the way there, Jesus said, "Go to the next village, and there you'll find a donkey. If anybody asks why you're taking the donkey, just say, 'The master needs it.'" So they went to the next village, and just exactly where Jesus had told them, they found the donkey. They brought it back to Jesus, and he rode into Jerusalem. When they arrived, there were crowds and crowds of people there. They were shouting, and they were singing and praising Jesus, and they were waving big palm branches in the air. They put their coats on the road, and they were so happy because they thought Jesus was going to be their king. They thought he was going to be a king like all the other kings that they had had, that he was going to fight the Romans and free them from a lot of the things that they weren't happy with in their country at the time. But Jesus wasn't that kind of king. Jesus was a servant king. So this last week of Lent is called Holy Week. And Holy Week is filled with stories about Jesus. On Palm Sunday today, we've heard how Jesus and his friends travelled to the great city of Jerusalem. They celebrated the Passover feast there. They remember how God saved them from the plagues in Egypt and through the Red Sea and into the desert. And as they approached Jerusalem, the crowds of people welcomed him. I wonder who they thought Jesus was. I wonder what they hoped that he would do for them. Later this week, normally we would have come to church again on Thursday, and it's called Maundy Thursday. We hear the story of the night Jesus and his friends ate the Last Supper together. Before the meal, Jesus took a cloth and a bowl and a jug of water. He got down on his knees and he washed the feet of his friends. They were pretty dirty and sore from walking. That's who our Jesus is, the servant king. He pours himself out like water from a jug. He touches what is dirty and hurting, and he makes it clean and whole. Jesus told his friends that this is what you must do for each other. Love one another as I have loved you. So our story today is just after that Last Supper. And after supper, they all went into a garden. It was a long, dark night, and Jesus was in trouble. Some people said he was the king of the Jews, but King Herod didn't like that. While Jesus prayed, Peter, James, and John sat under the trees, keeping watch. But one by one, they fell asleep. Before sunrise, Jesus saw another disciple. It was Judas, and he was with a crowd that were carrying torches and swords. Jesus woke his disciples. "Hello, Master," said Judas, and kissed Jesus on the cheek. And now the priests knew which man was Jesus because of the kiss. Jesus was arrested. Peter swung his sword, but Jesus told him, "Don't fight." Peter, James, and John ran away. Jesus was taken to the chief priest, but Peter had followed, and he was listening from a distance. But someone spotted him. "You were friends with Jesus," they said. "No, I wasn't. I don't even know him." 3 times Peter said he didn't know Jesus, just as Jesus had said he would. Then the cock crowed, and Peter cried because he realised he hadn't stood up for Jesus and been a good friend. The priest took Jesus to Pilate, the Roman governor. "Are you the king of the Jews?" Pilate asked him. Jesus said nothing. Pilate asked the crowd, "What has he done? He's hurt no one." But the crowd was angry. "Who shall I let go?" asked Pilate. "Either Barabbas, the murderer, or this Jesus, King of the Jews?" "Let Barabbas go," the crowd cried. Pilate was amazed. That's what the crowd wanted, and so he let Barabbas go. The crowd made fun of Jesus as he was taken to a hill called Calvary. They put a crown of thorns on his head. Jesus was nailed to a wooden cross between 2 thieves. "If you are the Son of God," said the main thief, "why don't you save yourself?" "What has he done? He's hurt no one," said the other kind thief. At midday, the sky went dark. The darkness lasted for 3 hours. "God, forgive them," Jesus cried. "They don't know what they're doing." At that same moment, the earth rumbled and Jesus died. A Roman soldier was standing guard. "He really was the Son of God," he said. That evening, a man called Joseph took Jesus' body to a stone tomb. He washed Jesus and he dressed him in clean clothes. Then he rolled a heavy stone over the opening of the tomb. And soldiers came to guard the tomb. All this time, Jesus' friends, Mary Magdalene and Mary from Galilee, were watching. So next week, we'll look at how this story ends. But for this week, for Holy Week, we can remember the stories we've listened to. The stories of Jesus entering Jerusalem, the happy crowd, pleased to have him, pleased he's king, and just in a few days, they've turned against him. They've crucified him, and he's in the garden tomb. It's okay.
It's okay. Dog just bashed the fine.
Feels completely unnatural.
It doesn't.